Srila Prabhupada explained how this condition of the Brahmins contaminated everything and spoiled. He explained that when the Muslims were in India, the Brahmin caste mistreated the other members of the Varnashram system and relegated them sometimes, even if they were from Kshatriya families or Kayastha families. So they just called them all Shudras. That's one thing. And the way they treated Shudras was very disrespectful. Or persons who were lower than Shudras were disrespected so much that if someone from such a position were to pass and their shadow happened to come on the cover a Brahmana, and the Brahmana would become furious and chastise the person, maybe curse him. And so Prabhupada said that what happened was all these people from the lower caste, they were so disgusted with the Brahmin, the way the Brahmins were acting, that they just became Mohammedans when the opportunity came. So why should we stay in this Hindu or Vaishnava culture, or Vedic culture, when we're so mistreated? So Prabhupada blamed that on the Brahmins because they mistreated them so badly that they decided to become Mohammedans. Of course, Mohammedan governments were encouraging that, and they did so many things. But it was interesting how Prabhupada analyzed the fall. And what did Prabhupada say? How should we deal with them now? He said they should be brought back. They should be brought back into the Vedic culture. It was a mistake to extricate them, to force them out, and now they should be brought back. And they should be given a chance. And the patriarchy system of giving everyone a chance to become Krishna conscious, to try to bring back the Varnashram system is a difficult task, because in Kali Yuga, people are very fallen, and it's almost an impossible task. But patriarchy system, one can be given a chance, even if he's whatever family he's born in. And if he chants the holy name of the Lord, he can become purified. And in fact, he can become a Brahmin. He can become more than a Brahmin. He can become a Vaishnava. So everyone, and the same idea was held against trying to convert Westerners. Muslims, of course, are Westerners because they're coming from the Middle East. They weren't originally in India. They came from there and they conquered, and then they converted in Mohammedanism. But when Prabhupada was planning to go to the West, many people held the idea that if you go to the West, it is true, the statement is made, I think Lord Chaitanya made a statement, the more west you go, the more it becomes fallen, more materialistic. So, but they were taking it that a sannyasi should not cross the water, otherwise he loses his position as a sannyasi. There are many people that wouldn't go across for that reason. I know when I was visiting South India and working with the persons living down there, they have very rigid, no possibility for a sannyasi to cross the sea, otherwise he loses his position. Because they think that one becomes contaminated by such association. There's something to that. It's not that it's completely wrong, but Prabhupada has shown the world that everyone can become a Brahmin. Everyone can become Krishna conscious. Everyone can become a Vaishnava. Without bar. Even Kirata Hunanda Pulinda Pulkasha Abhir Shumbhaka Yavanaka Sadeha Yeni Echapapa Yadapashaya Shaya Shuyanti Tasmai Prabhu Vishnu. Even if they're born of races that are traditionally addicted to sinful acts. Doesn't matter if they're born from any family, any race, any country, any situation. Because the power of Krishna is so great, if Krishna consciousness is administered to them, then they can become. They can transcend their birth. So, now some people, they react that the Muslims have taken over so much of India or other places too, so we should cut them down with military power. Prabhupada never recommended that. He recommended by the Sankirtan movement that all the anomalies of the world can be adjusted, can be corrected by chanting the Sankirtan movement. Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam Sango Pangascha Parshitam Yagyai Sankirtana Prayai Yajanti Sumesa. Those who are intelligent, Sumesa, of good brain substance, they will participate in the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that way, all the contamination of Kali Yuga will be destroyed, will be removed and purified. And that verse also indicates the incarnation of Lord Krishna. Not exactly the incarnation, he's Avatari, he's the source of all incarnations, he's Krishna himself. But there are many places in the Vedic scriptures that predict the incarnation for the age of Kali. He's called Chanavatar, he's covered. Covered means he doesn't present himself as God. Lord Ramachandra presented himself as God, Krishna presented himself as God. He didn't deny it. We don't hear Krishna becoming upset when people call him the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya did. He wouldn't accept, because he wanted to show special mercy to the people of Kali Yuga because they're so fallen. So we see how in the Bhagavad Gita it says, one who has controlled his mind, for one who's controlled his mind, the mind is the best of friends. But for one whose mind is not controlled, it's the worst enemy. We have to work on that. We have to be careful how we think, how we speak, because thinking and speaking and acting. If one just thinks something, in Kali Yuga, he's not, if it's something sinful, he doesn't get the reaction for that thought. But if he says something sinful, then he gets some reaction. And if he acts on it, he gets more reaction. So if we think something, Jayato Vishaya Pungsa Sangha Teshu Prajayate, then by contemplating the objects of the senses, one becomes attached to them. So if we think something sinful, then we become attached to that object, that sinful thing we're thinking of, and then one becomes bewildered, he loses his intelligence, he falls down. So we have to be careful about our thinking also. Thinking, willing, and acting. And the way to do that is to practice this chanting. The more we chant, the more our mind becomes purified. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. The Cheta, the heart or the mind, becomes purified by chanting. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. The mirror of the mind or the heart has to become purified, and it cleans it, chanting. So everyone is given a chance to associate with the devotees, to participate in this movement. Nobody is barred because of birth in a particular family or country. Everyone can take it up, and we see there are many people from all different walks, all different races or countries taking up Krishna consciousness. It's remarkable. I was shocked because when Prabhupada, he used to, I even received one letter from him. He said about the Russians, he said the Russians want to take this movement. Just the government's bad. The people are all right. They just need to be given a chance. But we were, in America, we were taught to believe the Russians are all bad. Better dead than red. That was our slogan. They were called red. So we had this idea that they were horrible monsters practically. But Prabhupada shown that just the leaders are corrupting everything. The people themselves, when given a chance, they're happy to take Krishna consciousness. So all over the world it's happening. Muslims are joining the Krishna consciousness movement. And atheists, agnostics, Buddhists, Christians, whatever, so-called, because nobody really follows their religion very astutely or carefully or properly. So it's difficult to say who's a Christian. As Prabhupada sometimes said, I don't know, I've never met one Christian. So, and Hindu is a term given by the Mohammedans. It's not even a bona fide term. There's no meaning, real meaning for it. So, all these designations can be wiped off and purified, and it's like Prabhupada, when you go to India, and you go to some temples, especially temples in South India, and you want to make an offering to the deity, they'll find out where you're from or what gotra you're from, what lineage. And in India, many great lineages such as Bharata or so many sages are heads of lineages, but we don't have any from the West. But Prabhupada said, yes, you can say when they ask you what's your lineage, what's your gotra, Achyuta gotra. Meaning Achyuta is a name for Krishna. Whoever falls down. So we can all claim that. were from the Achyuta Gotra. Because Krishna is the source of everyone, so everyone, whether it's, and then next is Brahma. Brahma is the next generation after Krishna or Vishnu. And then from Brahma, he had his sons and they expanded. So everyone ultimately goes back to Brahma, and above that, Vishnu, Krishna, so Achyuta Gotra. So we should be careful not to hold it against the people of the past who have committed atrocities. This is very difficult because people in India still have a great tendency to do this. Tear down, because they tore down temples. So then people feel they should retaliate by tearing down their mosques. And so this type of thing is going on. And the fighting is going on. And it will just continue to be fighting. Whereas Prabhupada's idea was bring them back into Krishna culture. They're from, especially those in India, they're from, go a few generations back, they were also into the Vedic culture. So bring them back. Everyone should have a chance to become purified. Because Krishna is for everyone. It's not that there's a Hindu God and a Muslim God and a Christian God. Only one God. So if people are educated, who is that one God? That one God is Krishna. Somebody will say, yeah, you say your God is Krishna, the only God, and they say their God, right? And who knows? We don't allow any of them. That's how we deal with it. Because how can you tell whose God is the real God? So that's the state of affairs in educational systems in the West. They're not allowed to discuss. People have become so disgusted with the leaders, the Brahmins, so-called leaders who misled and mislead and discriminate and on the basis of body. But Prabhupada never did that. He always said, anyone can be accepted. It doesn't matter. And any religion, if you actually follow a bona fide religion, he considered the Bible and the Quran to be bona fide teachings. If you actually follow that, then you'll make spiritual progress. So, and you can go back to Godhead eventually through that. Thank you.